this is something I really like. I don't know can't remember the real name of this falls. This is the one on the pig trail. And Tom and I took a class from Tim Ernst, and Tim saw this and he said, "Wow, I never got one like that. You must have been there in a gully washer. Every time I drive up and down the pig trail, I look for water in this falls. There's never any water." It was just a total stroke of luck to drive by there when it was doing that. Yeah, yeah. So, and if you like that, you just have to go there when it's pouring rain or just when it quits. And it just doesn't last very long. So we'll be hanging out at Turner Bend, and Laura says, "Well, what are you doing here?" I'm going I'm waiting for it to rain so I can go up there and do that. So this is the Arctic Svalbard, north of Norway, and this was in '08, and it's just another amazing. I really like polar bears. I don't know why, but it's amazing to me to see them.
What tour did you go with on this?
Most of the tours I've done, most of them, were with Lindblad, Lindblad expeditions. And I think I've done
and that's this one?
10 or 11. This was Lindblad to the Arctic. And they're doing one now that goes up and over down into, I forget what sea in Russia, and I would love to do that. This was a phenomenal trip for me. And yeah, that turned out really good. This is one of the National Geographic photographers was on the Zodiac raft, and he said, "Oh, you should try this." I'm going, "Wow, that's so cool."
Now, is that a glacier back there? Or?
Yes, yes.
So what did you do?
What did I do?
I
I did what the National Geographic guy told me to do. I took it at a very slow shutter speed. I don't remember what the shutter speed was, but it was slow.
Pan too, I guess.
No, I did not
You
pan.
did not pan.
Not on purpose. But we were on the Zodiac raft, so, I mean, there may be,
Oh,
but
okay.
I just like that.
This was on that trip?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And so is this.
Oh, that's cool.
And if you could look at the snow blowing onto the water, that happens from what's called katabatic winds, which blow at up over 100 miles an hour, and it blows the snow. I think Tom and I were on this trip, Tom and Tom's wife Sally, on this trip to southeast Alaska. And this is another thing that's kind of like what Tom's talking about. I was standing on the deck with, I think, my 2 to 400, and these people were all on the railing, and you hear this big commotion when these things come up, like right next to the boat, and I just turned around and went like that, and that's what came out of it. So I'm not a good photographer. I'm a very lucky photographer. And we sat and watched these calving glaciers, but what really gets me about the glaciers is the color of the ice.
Tell them what that is.
This is called bubble feeding. It's another thing that both of us are amazed by. And there are some interesting things about it. You're in a calm sea, and you'll see 1 or 2 birds, and they'll start to come around. And then there'll be 3 or 4, and then there'll be a dozen, and there'll be more. And then the birds will start to swirl very closely, and they'll get down close to the water. And what they know that we don't know is down below the surface there's big schools of bait fish. And the whales are feeding, and they will circle around and around, making that bait fish thing tighter and tighter and tighter. And then they go down, and they open these huge mouths. That's one mouth, okay? And they come straight up through the middle. And they knock fish out of the water, which is why the birds are there. And the birds like to do it. And an interesting fact, this just kills me, is they come up in the same order. There were, I think, 21 whales or something in one of this guy. We had a guide who can't come on the boat, and he said, "I've never seen that many." It was 3, whatever you call them, pods of whales had gotten together. There were like 7 in each one. But they come up in the same order every time. And then they float it, they do this, the birds go away, They log around on the water, swimming around, then they fluke their tails and they go down in the same order every time you see them. And they may do this a minute or 2 minutes later or 10 minutes later or 30 minutes later, and if you see them, the same whale will come up first, and that was the same whale that will fluke and go down first. Amazing.
They go by seniority.
I don't know. So this is earlier in February of this year. I went to India because I wanted to try to photograph the tigers, and I was there for 3 weeks. And this is effectively the only good sighting that we had. But it was pretty cool because we were going down a little dirt road in a Jeep, and the girl behind me, she says, this is so funny. She's from Hong Kong. She says, Allan, get the big lens. And I was sitting in the front resting this 300-8 on the dash, shooting forward, and the tiger's walking. And this guy throws this thing in reverse, and he backs up, and the tiger keeps coming. And he backs up, and the tiger keeps coming, and he keeps coming. And he came and came and came until we couldn't back up any further because of curves, and then he went off. And that was it. So that was...
Wow.
And it is, you can look at the picture and you can say, you see something like that, and your jaw drops open to see the magnificence of that animal. And this was we were on elephant back, taking some of that stuff, and and so here you can tell that what I really like about photography is animal portraiture. I'm not interested in seeing a mate. I'm not interested in anything. I like their faces.
That's nice.
Where's
You do well
that?
with your thirds.
That's in India also.
You do well with your thirds.
Oh, thanks. And this is also in India, and it's well worth seeing. 5 people on a motorcycle. Everywhere there are people. Everywhere you go. This is in northern Manitoba, a much more accessible trip for people to take because this trip is not really an expensive trip. It's a thing called Churchill Wild, and they have like 3 lodges in northern Manitoba. A 45-minute flight north of Churchill, which is the place where the bears walk around in the street and stuff. And it was quite nice. There was a photographer, Dennis Fast, who led this group, and we had a great time there in a lodge, 9 people. I think I took my brother-in-law with me, and everybody else was either professional photographers or sold their work except for us. I walked downstairs into the lodge at night, and everybody's working on their pictures and stuff. And I had the only PC in the place. What is wrong with what I'm doing?
Was this with Lynn Glenn also?
No. This is Churchill Wild.
Oh, Churchill.
And they're just their own thing. They don't take people places. You go there, you stay in the lodge. This is taken out the front door of the lodge.
Oh,
So at night, these bears try to get in the
so
lodge.
you're not in like one of those...
No. Tundra buggy stuff?
Tundra buggy,
No.
so-
I didn't want to do that, and I wouldn't want to do that because it's just a bunch of people drinking, and they take you out there,
Oh, really?
and you sit in the bus thing, and you take pictures of the bears outside. This was phenomenal. This was truly phenomenal. Now they take you hiking out, the guards do, and do this, but this is taken out the front door of the lodge.
And what time of year was that?
November.
November?
Yeah, because, and that's another interesting thing. This is on Hudson Bay.
Yeah.
And the bears are there until the day that the ice freezes solid. And then they walk across it, and they're there. So if they leave on November the 4th and you get there on November the 5th, you got nothing. And there's a compound. There's the lodge, and then there's a fenced compound, like field fence. And you can go out in there, and there's a couple of platforms, and you can take pictures. But then they take you out hiking, too. And which is very, very interesting, especially if the bears get between you and the lodge when you're coming back. God,
It just gets all every.
yeah. So he sat there, we watched this thing, and he finally goes, blam! A ptarmigan.
I tell them you're shooting through a fence to get that.
I'm going to tell him. Here's the secret of this story. This image won the Churchill Wild photo contest in Manitoba, and it is truly great. And I have a lot of people who just really, really love this. I took this with my point and shoot. So I had all my stuff there, and the other bear pictures I showed you were taken with, 300 or what was the Sigma that we had, 120 to 400 or something like that. But he was right next. He was this close. By the way, this is 7 millimeters. That's how close I was. But you sit there, and the fence is there. And you're looking at this bear who's laying on the ground looking at you, and the guide, has his hand on my shoulder, and I'm on my knees, or laying down, I can't remember. And he keeps his hand on your shoulder because if you're looking at the bear, and you're thinking about your camera, and that bear picks up his paw, he could swap through that fence and break your neck in a heartbeat, and that guy's there, to pull you away. But it's embarrassing to me because I don't think I ever revealed that to the photo contest, but I took that with my little point and shoot. So. All right, that's it, I think.
It's all about composition.
Thank you. Now, say one more thing. I have all of these trips, the total trips on Flickr. But it's not public, so if anybody wants the links to those trips, if they will email me